Good afternoon and welcome back. I'm Anna.
And I'm Brian. Stop what you are doing right now. And let me ask you a question that cuts straight through the noise of your busy day.
Does your life look successful on paper? The title, the apartment, the routine. But when you close your eyes, you feel an aching, unsettling disconnect.
Are you running at 100 miles an hour, but deep down, you suspect you are on the wrong road, heading towards someone else's definition of success? This isn't stress. This isn't burnout. This is the distinct, heavy emotional fog of being lost.
Maybe you've achieved milestones that were supposed to bring fulfillment, only to feel empty when you got there. That feeling of, is this all there is, after checking the box, is the defining signal that your internal compass is broken.
We're not talking about being lost geographically. We're talking about the specific existential drift where you are busy but lack deep fulfillment. And our promise today is this: being lost is not a personal failing. It is the most valuable and urgent signal your deep self can send you. It is the prerequisite for transformation.
We are going to provide a clear 5-part framework to stop that drift, moving from vague anxiety, the feeling, to actionable systems, the fix. Recognizing that signal of drift is the first, most powerful step.
The first phase is diagnosis. Why do we feel this pervasive sense of disorientation? We identify 3 key psychological triggers, or what we call the 3 Ds of drift.
The first D is defaulting. This happens when you accidentally choose a path chosen for you by society, parents, or sheer inertia, rather than conscious choice. You are living someone else's blueprint.
The second D is dissociation. This is the feeling of operating on autopilot. You are focused entirely on external metrics, paychecks, titles, social media validation, and have lost touch with your internal emotional and physical feedback loops.
The third D is deficiency in defining values. You haven't taken the time to identify what truly matters to you. Without defined values like creativity or contribution, you have no internal compass to check your direction against.
To diagnose which D is affecting you, we recommend the time versus meaning audit. Map where you spend your time, your calendar, versus what activities genuinely give you meaning, your internal rating. The gap between the two is the source of your lost feeling.
The larger the gap between the busy work and the meaningful work, the stronger the signal of drift. This realization is the first step out of the fog.
Let's elaborate on the psychological depth of the vague anxiety. This isn't the acute stress of a deadline. It's a chronic low-grade discomfort. Psychologically, it is often tied to the fear of unlived potential. We understand the feeling of being lost is particularly modern because global culture prioritizes measurable, external success, the latter, over internal subjective fulfillment, the compass. We are trained to look outward for validation.
Expanding the defaulting trigger. Defaulting often manifests as living a life based on conditional logic. For example, I will be happy after I get the promotion, or I can start my hobby once the kids are grown. This constantly postpones true living. The diagnosis here is recognizing that the conditions are self-imposed, and the lost feeling is the brain rejecting this infinite delay.
The dissociation diagnosis is critical. When operating on autopilot, we often suppress essential emotional feedback. This is the neglected amygdala. The lost feeling is the amygdala, the brain's emotional center, sending increasingly loud signals that the current situation is unsustainable. We recommend a simple daily practice, the 3 feelings check-in. Ask yourself, what 3 distinct feelings am I experiencing right now, to re-engage internal awareness.
The deficiency in defining values requires concrete work. If you haven't defined what moves you, you are rudderless. Consider 25 potential life values: security, adventure, learning, family, wealth, simplicity. Force yourself to choose the top 5 and discard the rest. The difficult act of discarding helps clarify what you are truly willing to sacrifice for, giving you a preliminary map. The failure to define these 5 pillars is the root cause of the existential drift.
The time versus meaning audit isn't just a calendar review. It's a review of your psychological investment. We must calculate the percentage of our week dedicated to activities rated 8/10 or higher on a meaning scale. If that percentage is below 20%, you are in a state of chronic drift. The goal is to raise the meaning investment threshold.
Welcome back. We've diagnosed the drift. Now we move to building the internal compass, which is anchored entirely in defined values.
If you don't know your core values, your decision-making will be erratic and influenced by the loudest external voices. Your values are your personal GPS coordinates.
We use the Core Value Quadrant. Take your top 4 chosen values, e.g., freedom, family, creativity, and health, and use them to test every major life decision.
Quadrant test example. If you are considering a new job with higher pay but longer hours, run the test. If the job supports wealth but destroys family and health, the decision is misaligned. The lost feeling will intensify.
The quadrant test gives you objective data. It stops the emotional swirl and presents a clear picture of alignment versus non-alignment.
The next step is reverse engineering the ideal day. If you knew you were living the life of meaning, what would a typical Tuesday look like? Focus on actions, not feelings.
An ideal Tuesday isn't, I feel happy. It's, I spend 90 minutes creating content, creativity. I have a dinner with my partner, family, and I get 8 hours of sleep, health.
We must break the habit of comparative misery. We feel lost when we compare our messy internal process to others' polished external results, social media. Your ideal day is unique to your values.
The ideal day exercise serves as the North Star. It's the concrete target you are moving toward, allowing you to measure progress by how many elements of that day you can incorporate into your real life this week.
This process builds internal locus of control. You stop feeling that external forces are guiding you and realize you are the active architect of your daily experience.
Let's delve deeper into the core value quadrant. We must recognize the inherent conflict between certain values. For instance, adventure and security are often opposing. The lost feeling often comes from trying to chase 2 conflicting priorities simultaneously. The quadrant forces the difficult conversation. Are you willing to sacrifice some security for more adventure, or vice versa? The goal is to choose the dominant priority.
The reverse engineering the ideal day exercise must be granular to be effective. We are looking for actionable time blocks. Instead of general blocks, define time usage. 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. focused learning input, reading a specific book. 1 p.m. to 1:45 p.m. mindful movement, walking without my phone. 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. unstructured connection, talking, not watching TV. The more detailed the design, the easier it is to integrate.
The psychology of comparative misery is fueled by the fundamental attribution error. We judge others by their outcomes, success, but ourselves by our intentions, struggle. To combat this, mentally insert the word struggle when viewing external success. She struggled to get that title, and now she is posting about it. This reminds you that the process is universally messy.
Building the internal locus of control requires actively assigning responsibility for your circumstances back to yourself, not in a punitive way, but as an empowering choice. Practice the mantra, I am not forced to do this work. I choose to do this work because it funds my value of family or security or freedom. This subtle shift in language eliminates the victim mentality that feeds the lost feeling.
Finally, the value-based compass must be a living document. Review your top 5 values quarterly. Life circumstances change. Values can shift hierarchy. The check-in prevents the new system from becoming another rigid routine that leads to future drift.
Welcome back. Diagnosis is complete, and the value-based compass is built. The next challenge is the most common reason people stay lost: inertia. How do we start moving?
Inertia is the psychological resistance to motion. When you are lost, the path forward seems overwhelmingly large. We must apply the principle of minimum effective dose, MED.
The MED is the smallest action you can take to move forward without activating the brain's resistance. Like microhabits, this action must be so ridiculously small it's easier to do it than skip it.
If your value is writing and your ideal day has a 90-minute writing block, your MED is writing one sentence. Not a good sentence, not a correct sentence, just one sentence. This defeats perfectionism.
If your value is connection and you feel lost in relationships, your MED is sending one intentional text to a loved one that is not a logistical message. For example, I saw X and thought of you.
We must conquer the clarity myth. People believe they need absolute clarity before moving. The reality is that clarity comes from movement, not planning. You don't know if you like a path until you step on it.
The MED serves as the directional test. By taking the smallest step, you immediately gain feedback. Did that one sentence feel good or bad? Did that one conversation open up a new direction?
We must implement the no 0-day rule. This means that regardless of exhaustion, distraction, or failure, you must take at least the MED step toward your defined value.
The goal of the No Zero Day is not progress. The goal is consistency and identity reinforcement. You are casting a vote for your future self even when you feel like quitting.
This phase is about recognizing that small, consistent steps, even when lost, are the only way to build momentum and eventually find your true bearing.
Let's define the psychological power of the minimum effective dose, the MED. The MED leverages the Zeigarnik effect, which states that the brain remembers and seeks to complete unfinished tasks. By starting the small task, like one sentence, you trick the brain into wanting to complete the rest of the larger task, thus overcoming inertia without burning willpower. The MED must be non-negotiable and timed, for example, 2 minutes maximum.
The clarity myth is often perpetuated by analysis paralysis. We spend so much time weighing options. Is this the perfect job, hobby, partner, that we make no choice at all? We must acknowledge that any direction is better than stagnation. If you move and realize it's the wrong way, you have still gained invaluable data that informs the next choice, which is faster than planning indefinitely.
The No Zero Day rule is a strategic defense against the all or nothing fallacy. If I can't do the full 90 minutes, I do nothing. When you implement the No Zero Day, you maintain the integrity of the streak. If you have a 30-day streak of single sentences, that evidence is psychologically powerful. The moment the streak is broken, the identity is weakened, increasing the chance of reversion.
The directional test must be quick and observational. After your MED, ask, do I feel more energized or more drained? If energized, the direction is likely aligned with your values. If drained, the direction needs adjustment. This moves the emotional state from lost and overwhelmed to scientists testing a hypothesis.
We must also prepare for the trough of disillusionment. After the initial excitement of starting, motivation will drop. The MED is designed to carry you through this trough. It's not the exciting 90-minute session that changes your life. It's the 30 seconds on the day you absolutely didn't want to move. That 30 seconds proves the identity has changed.
Welcome back. You are moving. The next challenge is accepting that you will undoubtedly realize you are still on the wrong path, even while moving. This is the pivot phase.
Course correction is the hallmark of growth. Being lost is not failing, it's gathering feedback. We must normalize the pivot, making it a planned, strategic part of the system.
We use the 3-month review cycle. Every 90 days, stop and formally assess your movement. This prevents continuous drift and forces you to confront the data.
The review cycle requires answering 2 simple, objective questions. 1. Alignment check. Did my actions primarily serve my top 3 values? 2. Energy check. Was my average daily energy level above 0.6?
If the answer to either question is no, you pivot. A pivot is a system change, not an identity crisis. You change the how, not the who.
For example, if you realize the 90-minute writing block is too demanding, you pivot the system. Split it into two 45-minute blocks. If the new job is draining your health value, you pivot the system. Delegate one household task or block 2 hours for recovery.
We must neutralize the sunk cost fallacy. This fallacy tells you to continue a draining path, a degree, a relationship, a job, because you have already invested so much time and effort.
But that time and effort are sunk. They are gone regardless. The only choice you have is whether to invest more good time after bad. The most courageous choice when lost is to stop digging.
The skill of pivoting relies on detached observation. Treat your life like a product development cycle. The initial path was V1.0. It failed the user test. You felt lost. Now you analyze the data and create V2.0.
The pivot phase ensures you are always sailing, even if you have to tack sharply into the wind. The skill of changing direction gracefully is the ultimate antidote to being lost.
Let's detail the 3-month review cycle. This is a formalized, non-emotional data check. Beyond the 2 key questions, we must review the meaning investment threshold calculated in Part 1. Did we raise the percentage of high-meaning activities? If not, the current system is ineffective and requires a strategic pivot, as in eliminating the lowest meaning activity to free up space.
The sunk cost fallacy must be rigorously countered. The emotional attachment to the past path must be broken. We teach the next 12 hours test. Ask yourself, if I knew for a fact this path led to misery, what steps would I take in the next 12 hours to stop? This bypasses the long-term emotional anchor and forces immediate practical action. For example, closing the laptop, emailing the supervisor, booking the consult.
The system change versus identity crisis distinction is key. When pivoting, explicitly state, my identity as a writer is intact. My system of writing only after 9 p.m. failed. This protects the core belief while allowing the external structure to be dismantled. This language prevents the pivot from causing a destructive shame spiral.
The detached observation technique requires the use of third-person self-talk during the review. Instead of, I failed at this, ask, why did the user, your name, find V1.0 of the career plan unsustainable? This externalizes the problem, making it solvable rather than existential. This objectivity is paramount to a successful course correction.
The purpose of the pivot phase is to solidify the belief that being lost is temporary feedback, not a permanent state. It confirms that the internal compass works. It just needs a manual adjustment based on real-world data gathered through movement.
Welcome back. We've diagnosed the lost feeling, mapped our values, overcome inertia, and learned to pivot. The final phase is integration, making the new systems automatic and building self-trust.
The true feeling of being found is synonymous with deep self-trust. You trust that your internal compass, your values, is calibrated and that you will act on its direction.
We solidify this through the practice of internal integrity. This means doing what you said you would do, especially when no one is watching. Every successful MED vote builds this foundational trust.
This integrity transforms into preemptive action. You stop waiting for problems to happen and start designing systems that make alignment inevitable.
Preemptive action example. If your value is health, you don't rely on willpower to resist fast food. You preemptively pack a healthy lunch every Sunday night. You design the environment to support your value.
We integrate the system through stacking the wins. Use the momentum from one successful change to launch the next one. For example, once the writing MED is automatic, stack the connection MED on top of it.
Stacking example. After I write one sentence, automatic win, I will send one intentional text, new micro win. This leverages existing neurological pathways for new habit formation.
Finally, practice gratitude for the drift. Reframe the period of being lost not as a weakness, but as the essential crisis that forced you to define your values and build the life you now trust.
The feeling of being found is simply the deep alignment between your core values and your daily actions. It is a state of perpetual maintenance, not a fixed destination.
You were never truly lost, only temporarily disconnected from your own best judgment. The compass is within.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of self-discovery and system building.
We hope you feel empowered to start moving.
We'll be back next week to discuss techniques for mastering financial independence.
Until then, build your life for good.